I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, spilling all this out, but honestly, I don't see any other way. My name's Jake, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 7 years now. We met during our graduate studies. She was brilliant, ambitious, a bit bitchy at times, but I always thought she was worth it. She's a project manager for a big tech firm, and I work in agricultural research, specifically on developing those advanced pest prediction systems. Basically, we were a good team. She kept me grounded, I kept her from flying too high. Things were pretty normal, or so I thought. We had our fights, sure, but who doesn't? But over the past few months, I started noticing little things that didn't add up. Lisa getting more secretive, hiding her phone more than usual, brushing off my questions like I was an idiot. She'd be on her phone late at night, giggling and texting someone. She'd come home tired and cranky, snapping at me over small stuff. I chalked it up to stress at work or her running late with projects, but deep down I knew something was off. Then last week I found it. I was in her email, accidentally, I swear. I was just trying to check her calendar because she'd been canceling dinner plans without explanation. Instead, I saw a string of emails from some guy named Mark. The subject line was Infestation Probability Algorithms Confidential. It was an exchange about some field station data, but then it suddenly veered into personal stuff, how they met, how they clicked, and how she loved the thrill of being with someone who understands the complexities of agriculture and tech. My stomach dropped. I had no doubt about what I was reading. She was cheating on me, and it was with some guy who worked in the same field building algorithms for pest prediction. The same damn thing I work on. I couldn't believe it. My mind spun. I kept going through the emails trying to find some kind of mistake, some misinterpretation, but there was. She was lying about her whereabouts that day, claiming she was working late at the office, but I had seen her car parked outside the field station where she said she was working with her team. It was her handwriting, her words, telling this guy how she felt. I felt betrayed, like a complete idiot for not seeing this coming. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there staring at the ceiling trying to process what I'd found. I felt anger bubbling up but also sadness. How could she do this? We had plans, a future. Hell, I even trusted her with my work, my greatest passion. And now this. She was cheating on me with some tech guy, probably for the thrill of it, just like that. I kept asking myself, why? What did I do wrong? But I knew the truth was she was just a bitchy, manipulative person who liked to keep her options open. And I was the fool who thought I was enough. The next morning, I couldn't even look at her the same way. Lisa was in the kitchen, humming some tune, acting like everything was normal. She was pouring herself coffee, her phone buzzing on the counter. I watched her, trying to keep my cool, but inside I was boiling. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't prepared for how she'd react. I took a deep breath and sat down across from her. Lisa, I started, voice trembling more than I wanted. We need to talk about last night. She looked at me with that same bitchy smirk she always wore when she thought she was better than everyone else. What's there to talk about, Jake? She said, flipping her hair. I was busy, work been hectic. I clenched my fists. I saw your emails, the ones with Mark, the ones where you're telling him you love the thrill of sneaking around. How long has this been going on? Her eyes flickered for a second and then she rolled her eyes, scoffing. Oh, please. You're overreacting. It's just some work stuff. You're being paranoid. That irritated the hell out of me. I pressed harder. It's not just work. I saw the messages. You were lying about where you were. You've been sneaking behind my back for months. How could you do this after everything we've built? She crossed her arms, leaning back. Look, Jake, you're making a big deal out of nothing. Mark's just a guy I met at a conference. It's not like I slept with him or anything. We just talk about algorithms, pest management, the usual nerd stuff. Her tone was dismissive, but I could see she was trying to hide her nerves. I wasn't buying it. You're lying, I shot back. You're lying to my face. I know you've been sleeping with him. I found your emails, Lisa. You're not just talking, you're cheating. Her smirk grew colder and she looked at me as if I was some stupid fool. Fine, she snapped. Maybe I am. It's not like you're perfect either. Remember that time you stayed late at the lab with your stupid pest systems? Or when you ignored me for a week because you were focused? Grow up, Jake. People cheat, people lie, that's life. That hit me like a punch in the gut. I felt my stomach turn and my hands trembled. How could she be so cold, so uncaring? I thought I knew her, but now I saw her for what she really was, a manipulative, bitchy woman who didn't care about honesty or loyalty. I wanted to scream, to throw something, but I held it all in. Instead, I just said, "So this is who you really are. I trusted you. We trusted each other. And you're just a liar and a cheat." She rolled her eyes again and said, "Look, Jake, I don't owe you an explanation. I'm done pretending. If you want to be naive about your precious algorithms and pest predictions, that's your problem. I've got my life, you've got yours. Just don't bother me anymore." With that, she grabbed her purse and stormed out of the apartment, leaving me there, stunned, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. The shock was overwhelming. I kept replaying everything she said, everything I discovered. My mind was racing, trying to piece together how I'd let this happen, how I hadn't seen the signs sooner. Rage, betrayal, heartbreak, all swirling inside me. I thought about confronting her again, about calling her out in front of her friends, about making her pay somehow. But deep down, I knew this was just the beginning of something much darker. I had to come up with a plan, something to make her regret the hell she'd put me through. That's when I remembered the work I do. That pest prediction system we developed. Those algorithms are sensitive, proprietary, built with data from field stations during our food security project. I realized, if I could use that system against her, show her she's been played just as much as she played me, I'd have my revenge. It wasn't just about hurting her. It was about making her feel the same betrayal I felt. And I was already starting to plan how I'd do it. Over the next few days, I was a mess. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smirking, lying straight to my face. I kept rereading her emails, trying to find a way to turn this situation to my advantage. I wasn't just going to let her walk away scot-free. I had my own tools, my expertise, my system, and a burning desire for payback. I started digging into the algorithms we built together, looking for vulnerabilities or ways I could manipulate them. These systems are based on complex data from field stations, soil moisture, weather patterns, pest outbreak probabilities, and I realized I could use her own game against her. If I could make her believe that her precious infestation probability algorithms were compromised or that her affair had been detected, I could turn her own world upside down. That was my plan, a cold, calculated revenge. I spent the next day setting everything up. I accessed the system remotely, something I could do because I designed it myself, with backdoors I kept hidden just in case. I crafted a scenario where her algorithms showed a sudden spike in infestation probabilities, something that would make her panic. What better way to shake her confidence, to make her feel exposed and vulnerable? I knew her. She was obsessive about her work. If I could make her believe that her own system was compromised, she'd lose her mind. And that's exactly what I wanted. I also added subtle cues, small anomalies in her recent data, fake logs that suggested someone had been hacking into her system, trying to sabotage her. All of this was designed to look authentic enough to scare her. I knew she'd check her system logs, her emails, her messages. When she did, she'd see the signs of a breach, proof that someone was messing with her algorithms. That would be the perfect trigger. I watched her reaction from afar. That evening, she stormed into her office, furious, frantic. Her phone was ringing nonstop, her face flushed with panic. She was yelling at her assistant, accusing her of security breaches. Her hands trembling as she stared at her monitor. She believed she was under attack. That's when I knew I'd succeeded in planting my trap. It was like she finally realized she'd been caught in her own web of lies, and that everything she thought she knew was slipping away. But I didn't stop there. I kept feeding her more false data, fake reports, bogus pest outbreak predictions, even messages claiming her credibility was collapsing. Watching her unravel was almost satisfying, but I knew this wasn't just about revenge. It was about making her feel what I'd felt, humiliated, betrayed, powerless. I wanted her to know that her lies had consequences and her manipulations could be turned against her. The best part, she started to crack. She was calling me, begging, crying, accusing herself of everything. She was trying to deny it all, but I had her right where I wanted. I kept feeding her the illusion that her system was compromised, that her career was in ruins, that she was exposed. I watched her go through the stages of breakdown, denial, anger, despair, because she deserved it. She thought she was clever, lying and cheating her way through our marriage, but I had just outsmarted her. With her own technology, it felt like I was finally in control again, like I'd turned her own game into her punishment. The anger, the heartbreak, I let it all fuel me. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought it would, but now I was one step ahead. I knew I'd make her regret ever crossing me, and I'd do it without lifting a finger in a way she'd never see coming. This was just the beginning. After a few more days of watching Lisa spiral, I started to feel the rush of victory. She was frantic, her confidence shattered. She'd spend hours obsessively checking her compromised algorithms, trying to fix what she thought was a breach. The woman who used to sneer at anyone who doubted her intelligence was now desperate, panicked, and broken. Honestly, it was almost too easy. But I wasn't finished yet. The next step was to make her feel even more exposed. I crafted one last move that would hit her where it hurt. Their infestation probability models, the very core of her professional pride, were now telling her that the pests she was supposed to predict were going to ravage their field stations. I sent her a fake report, a convincing one, saying that her algorithms had failed completely, that the infestation levels would spike uncontrollably, and that her credibility was in free fall. I knew she'd see this and lose her mind. That night she called her boss, crying, pleading for help. She told him she had no idea what was happening, that her system was compromised, and that her career was on the line. I listened from my apartment, feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and emptiness. I'd made her believe her entire world was crumbling, just like she did to me with her lies. She was so caught up in her own web of deception that she didn't even realize it was her own technology turning against her. The next morning, I got a text from her. She was crying, begging to meet, saying she needed to talk. I met her at the park nearby, where she looked more broken than I'd ever seen her. She kept blaming herself, saying she'd never trust anyone again, that she was stupid for thinking she could keep her affair hidden. She told me she loved me, that she was sorry for everything, and that she wanted to fix us, but I just looked at her and said, "You think you can just lie and cheat and walk away like nothing happened?" Her face twisted with guilt, but there was also desperation. She reached out to touch me, but I stepped back. I told her that I knew she'd been unfaithful, that I knew about Mark, and that I'd been watching her fall apart. Her eyes widened and she stammered, trying to deny it. But I had proof. Every email, every lie she'd told, all of it. I knew her secrets and I was ready to use them. In that moment I realized something. I'd won. Not just because I had outsmarted her, but because I'd forced her to confront herself. She thought she was untouchable, that her lies would never catch up with her. But I'd shown her the opposite. Her own deception had turned against her, and she was powerless. I didn't even need to do anything further. Her unraveling was enough. As she left, crying and defeated, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I'd spent so long trusting her, loving her, only to get betrayed. Now I knew I had to decide what to do next. Part of me wanted to destroy everything she cared about, her career, her reputation, her sense of security. But another part just wanted to walk away and forget her. The damage was done. She was no longer the woman I married. She was just a stranger, a liar, a cheat, a manipulator, and I was finally free. In the days that followed, I found myself oscillating between numbness and a strange clarity. The damage she thought she'd hidden, the lies she'd spun, everything was exposed now. My revenge had played out perfectly, and watching her crumble under her own lies gave me a sick sense of closure I never thought I'd find. Still, part of me felt hollow, like I'd lost something valuable even as I'd gained my power back. I started to think about what I really wanted next. Honestly, I wasn't interested in dragging this out. Her tears, her apologies, her endless excuses, they all felt like empty words now. I'd made her feel what I'd felt, betrayed, humiliated, vulnerable, and I knew I didn't want to be the guy who just forgave and moved on. No, I needed to make a clean break. I needed to sever every tie, destroy whatever Remnants of that life still existed, so I filed for divorce. It was straightforward, no drama. I didn't even bother to fight her in court. Instead, I made it clear that I knew everything, her lies, her affair, her manipulation, and that I was done. I didn't want her to be able to spin her own story anymore. I wanted her to feel the full weight of what she'd done, the way she'd made me feel, and the way her deception had shredded whatever trust we once had. The worst part: seeing her try to deny everything, trying to pretend she was innocent even as I handed her the divorce papers. She begged for me to reconsider, claiming she'd changed, that she loved me. But I wasn't having any of it. I told her I didn't want her apologies. I wanted her out of my life for good. I knew that no amount of words could undo what she'd done, and honestly, I didn't want to hear her lies anymore. As I signed the papers, I felt a strange sense of relief mixed with anger. I'd learned that trust is fragile, that people can hide their true selves behind masks, and that sometimes the only way to truly hurt someone is to strip away everything they rely on. I don't regret what I did. I don't regret exposing her. If anything, I wish I'd done it sooner. I realized that in the end, this was about saving myself from being another one of her lies, another victim of her manipulations. Now, I'm trying to piece myself back together. I've gone back to my work, throwing myself into my research and my projects, building new algorithms, working on pest prediction models that I can control, that I can trust. I've become more cautious, more guarded, but I also feel lighter. I've learned to rely on myself, to trust my instincts, and to never let anyone betray me like that again. Looking back, I see how naive I was, how I let myself believe her lies because I wanted to believe in us. But I've gained something better: clarity. And maybe someday I'll find someone who's honest, who won't cheat or lie or manipulate. Until then, I'll focus on rebuilding my life, stronger than ever, knowing what I'm capable of and what I refuse to tolerate anymore. Now, sitting here reflecting on everything, I realize just how much that betrayal changed me, not just as a husband, but as a person. The trust I once had in her, in the idea of us, shattered into a million pieces. But through that chaos, I found something I'd been missing: a sense of control, a clarity about what I need from life and from the people I let into it. I learned that trust isn't something you give blindly. It's something earned, and it's fragile as hell. Once broken, it's almost impossible to put back together. That whole ordeal taught me to be more cautious, more guarded. But it also made me value honesty and integrity more than I ever did before. I used to think love was enough, thought that if I just loved her enough, everything would be okay. Turns out, love isn't enough when someone is willing to lie and cheat behind your back. I guess I was just naive, blinded by how much I wanted us to work. But once I saw her true colors, I realized I deserved better. I deserved someone who didn't lie, who didn't manipulate, who respected me enough to be truthful. Looking back, I don't regret what I did. I don't regret exposing her, even though part of me feels guilty about the way I did it. But that guilt is overshadowed by the relief I feel. I finally took control of my life and stopped being a victim of her games. I learned that sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to fight fire with fire, to outsmart the manipulator, to use her own weapons against her. That's what I did, and I'd do it again if I had to. Now, I focus on rebuilding. I've thrown myself into my work, refining my algorithms, protecting my projects, and making sure I don't get caught off guard again. I've become more wary, yes, but also stronger. I know what I want now: honesty, loyalty, integrity. And I refuse to settle for less. The pain of betrayal still lingers, but it's tempered by the knowledge that I've taken back control. I'm not the same naive guy I was when I first met her. I'm wiser, more cautious, and more determined to never let anyone hurt me like that again. So here's my final thought: trust is earned, not given. Don't ignore the signs of lies or manipulation. And if someone cheats you, don't just sit there and accept it. Fight back, even if it's in small ways. Sometimes you've got to use their own tricks to show them they're not invincible. Because in the end, the best revenge is living your life without them. That's what I plan to do. Stronger, smarter, and more prepared for whatever comes next.